So the next thing is I'm Adam Seipel. I am a a technology coach in Albemarle County. I've been in this role for about 6 years now. And when I first started, I was working down in North Carolina at the time, and I was told that I was going to be serving the schools in our district that worked with the students with severe and profound disabilities. And part of this experience, I also got to work very closely with the assistive technology team. It was 3 awesome women. They taught me so much, and they continually were talking about the concept of assistive technology and talking about the concept of universal design for learning. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what these terms mean. And so over the course of 2.5 years, we collaborated so much. We worked on creating plans to unite all of these schools and have a common support plan for how we can meet these students' needs. And also with that, we were able to serve a lot of teachers and be able to bring new information to them. So that's kind of my journey when it comes to learning about assistive technology and universal design. And I'm going to share a lot of those resources with you that they shared with me initially as well. You can find me on social media at Adam Seipel. I'll have my contact info on some other slides, and you'll get an email from me later today. You can always reply to as well. In Zoom, if you are looking at my screen right now, and I am sharing my screen, if you hit escape at any point, that will leave my screen share and allow you to control your own screen. A lot of people have found that just going over that skill very quickly has been helpful. All right, so as we do these sessions, often we always start with our norms or agreements, and I'm gonna run through those quickly. The first is that we offer ourselves grace. We're learning about, for a lot of us, some new concepts of universal design and assistive tech, and it's important to offer ourselves grace with what we might have done in the past or what we're trying today. Also grace in terms of, you'll probably see my kids today, my dog might walk in, and just knowing the context of we're working from home, learning from home, and what that looks like. If you have a question, please ask, put it into the chat, and John or Eric will get back to you very quickly. If they need to raise it up to me, they'll unmute their mic and shoot me that question. Try something new, whether it is one of these strategies that we're looking at today, or as we're trying to serve our students, you try something new that way, and just you're in a supported area, and we're here to help. The next is share. Regardless of if it's a resource that I put together or this entire presentation, whatever it might be, if you find something of value, pass it on to somebody else. And that kind of leads to this whole summary of we're in this together, and we're here to support you. You're here to support your coworkers and the students, and we're all here to serve our learners. We're going to kick things off by learning about accessibility and UDL. And here's a quick quote that I really like. Accessibility allows us to tap into everyone's potential. This is not limiting it to people who, accessibility isn't just a term for people who have an IEP or some other accommodation. Accessibility helps everybody. And I really feel that that's the case. When we look at how we engage with our world, how we engage with technology, and how we engage with architecture, all of us are benefiting from concepts of accessibility on a daily basis. So with that, it leads to this concept of universal design. And it began back in the 60s at North Carolina State University in Raleigh. And with it, it was looking at architecture. How can we put design features into our buildings, into our ramps and different things like that, to be able to make the entire world more accessible for all people? Why do a staircase when you can have a ramp, and that type of idea? And so there are a lot of other design principles that we're going to be talking about. But again, it started with architecture. And as all good teachers do, we steal an idea and we adapt it for how we can better serve our students. And that's exactly what happened with this concept. here is a short, or not really short, but here's a cartoon that I like to share with people that helps to exemplify this. So here on the right-hand side, could you please shovel the ramp? All these other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I will clear the ramp for you. But if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in. So what are these different strategies that we can do, or pieces that we can put in place for our students so that everybody can access knowledge, all people can access being able to display their understanding of these concepts. And that's what we're really going to be focused on today, how all learners can benefit. And with this, a lot of my work is based upon CAS.org and their Universal Design for Learning guidelines. So when we talk about UDL, the three different pieces that we're really honing in on are the affective, the why of learning. So how are our students engaging with different content? What makes it purposeful to them? How do we motivate our kiddos? The next is the what of learning, the recognition. So how are our students accessing different content? When they are getting information, how is that information represented? Is it through a video? Is it through audio? Is it through certain types of highlighting text? What does this look like? And then finally, it's looking at the strategic or how of learning. So how are our students going to represent their knowledge? How are they going to show what they know? And how can we differentiate along the way? So continuously, we're going to come back to these three different concepts and kind of use this to structure where we're going. The other thing to know is that this is all linked. So if you click where it says visit the UDL guidelines, or really anywhere in this picture, it's going to open up with CAS.org's website where you can learn more about what Universal Design for Learning is. Now on this, you can find videos on it. Down below, we have detailed descriptions of these guidelines. So each of those three break down into several subcategories you can also get into. Again, very, very helpful resource that we can refer to as you go back to your schools and try to see how this applies both to the students you serve, and then how you might be able to share this information with your coworkers. All right, so now that we've have that baseline understanding of what UDL is and what accessibility allows us to do, we're going to start to look at some tools and resources that will allow us to provide those opportunities for our kids. So I'm a big fan of Chrome. It's my browser of choice, and I know a lot of us are using Chromebooks, and so it's built right in there. The first part of our session is looking at a tool called Chrome Extensions. And with an extension, there are these little buttons that pop up in the top right of our Chrome browser. I know that Firefox has some extensions as well. Some other browsers do too. But again, for today, we're going to really be focusing on Chrome. And the reason I have the Incredibles over here, one, my kiddos, who again, you might meet anytime during the session, they love Pixar movies, but especially The Incredibles. And when I think of superheroes, these are the first folks who come to mind. And I have this because extensions act like a superpower for how we can use Chrome, and allows us to interact with the content, interact with web pages in a different way. The first of these extensions that we're going to be talking about and learning about together is Read and Write for Google. So at this point, I'm going to, I'm not going to share this video. I'm going to do a quick demo for you. So Read and Write for Google, again, is a browser extension. It allows us to do read aloud, some cool vocabulary tricks, text leveling, and on this page we can learn more. But I'm going to open up a different browser and we're going to check this out. All right. So Read and Write for Google, the way to best use probably this first section when we're looking at these extensions will be to follow by watching my screen. And then you might go back and add these extensions later. And I'll kind of talk you and walk you through how to use these tools. So I'm on a website called the Good News Network. I like to come here for these sessions because it's good to highlight positive things. So, you know, a week ago, a lot of people heard about this boy who saved his little sister from a dog attack, and now all of the Avengers are recording videos to him saying, "You're the true superhero." And this is such a cool, motivating story, and I really wanted to highlight it for you. And we're going to do that by using our Read 'em Write tool. It's this purple puzzle piece in the top of my screen. And when I click on it, it's going to open up a toolbar across the top of my screen. Maybe in a second, it'll pop up. Okay, it's there. Okay, so in here, when we look at this, we get all these different tools across the top, and I'm able to highlight and then hit play.
Before he shielded his little sister from the charging dog, before actor Chris Evans called him a hero and scores of strangers learned his name, 6-year-old Bridger Walker took it upon himself to be a model big brother.
Okay.
When she was first born.
All right, so some things that we might notice when it comes to universal design is that it's highlighting the sentence, right, in yellow, and then it's doing each individual word as it's doing a read aloud in blue. So when we talk about representation, right, our students are able to use their auditory to be able to hear it. It's reinforced by having the text, and it's slowing down and showing them each of those pieces one at a time, whether it's the sentence or the word. And they're able to see it represented in a variety of ways. They can highlight or listen to anything that they need. It's kind of on demand for the students themselves. They can pause if they need to replay. So I can just click back here.
He held her and just beamed.
And be able to hear that part again if I need to.
When he didn't want to get.
All right, so very, very easy to use the read aloud part of this, but there's a lot more that Read 'em Write for Google can do as well. So with any of these words, I can highlight the word, let's say dog, and now I can come in here to the picture dictionary, and it's going to find different pictographs that represent that word that I could, or the student could be able to, oh, that's what a dog is, or that's what the economy means, or whatever it might be. We also have a definition part. So let me select, we'll see actor. And I can get different definitions of it as well. So very easy to do. Now there are some other cool features across the top here, including the simplify page, which kind of looks like a series of 4 horizontal lines. When I click simplify page, it gets rid of all of the advertisements, all of the pictures that could be distracting for our kiddos. But wait, there's more. Okay, so my students are then able to really customize what this looks like. So if a student needs high contrast, they can do yellow on blue and be able to get that. It's a little too Michigan for me, so I might do white on black and be able to make that contrast work for me. I can adjust the font size or the spacing, again, to make it for our particular student. Now our student is also still able to use the read aloud function when they're in Simplify, but I want to show you this next piece because I think this is a really cool game changer. So in here we have Simplify. If I click this minus sign, it's going to adjust the text to make it more accessible for our kids. So it's going to look at the syntax and the word choice of what's being included here, and it's still keeping the main idea, this main message of what my story is about. But again, I can make it simpler for our kids. Now, when it's all done, I'm ready to head back, and I can bounce back to this original tab, and it still has that information in there. Now, some other things that I can do when it comes to interacting with this text. So now we're kind of moving into that motivation part, or making it very user-friendly for my students. I can start to highlight different words. So with this, I'm going to highlight the word relatives. I'm going to highlight heroism. And I'm going to highlight hospital. So I've got my 3 different words, right? And this is just the coolest feature. So when I see this bulleted list on the right-hand side, it says vocabulary when I hover over it, and I click, and it's doing some magic in the background. this is, in just a second, you might need to lift your jaw up because you'll be like amazed by what you're about to see. So in here, it has made a vocabulary list for me where each of those different words are listed in here. Then I get definitions for it, and I still get those pictograph symbols for all of my different words. And it is offering multiple definitions for these words. So I, as a teacher, could go through and say, no, I really want you to focus on this first definition. So I might delete the other definitions before I passed it on to my students in Google Classroom. Now, some other ways that I can really maximize what this screen looks like right now. If instead of notes, I want this to be sample sentence, I can do that. Or if I work with a lot of students who aren't native English speakers and they might speak Spanish or some other languages, I can insert column right and do palabra, right? And then my student could type in, well, here's what that word means in my native language and be able to have that information in there. So really amazing tool. Again, that is all built into Read and Write for Google. Makes it so easy to interact with text in a variety of ways. So at this point, I'm gonna head back to our slides and just run through a couple other resources that are linked on our Read and Write page. So if you click where it says Learn More on slide 10, this is gonna open up in a project from Google that I got to help with a couple of years ago called the Chromebook App Hub. And so in here, they worked with different educational technology companies to make overview pages for a lot of different tools. So in here, this is our Read and Write one. It gives you an overview. We get some get started resources and walkthroughs, case studies, how it interacts with your data, and it has different pledges over here, how it works with accessibility. And then down at the bottom, it has, here are some related instructional ideas that you might want to use in your classroom. So if we click on the student curated vocabulary, then it's going to open up in that resource made by me. And in here, we can see how we can use this for different groups of students with ELL or special accommodations. And it does have walkthroughs of how to do all of those activities. So again, the Chromebook App Hub, you don't need to be using Chromebooks for this to be a valuable resource, but I wanted to make sure we saw it. Now, a quick note about how Read and Write, their accounts work. It is free for teachers, like the premium version is free for teachers. Schools would need to pay to have premium accounts for students, but they can have basic accounts for free. To sign up to get the premium teacher account, you'd click this link and it has a short form that you could fill out to get that information. There are other tools that do similar things, such as our district uses Snap and Read. That does that read aloud, some translation things. So it's using whatever tool your district provides, but making sure that we allow our students and help work with our students to be able to leverage that read aloud, whatever vocabulary, definition, translation services that might be built into those tools. Any thoughts or questions on Read and Write before we continue on?
Hi, this is Jennifer Elliott. I put this in the chat, but I'm just wondering what features are not available in the basic student account?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me open that up real quick.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. So I will be honest that I don't use it in my non-district account very often, but when I am logged in as a non-teacher in this account, so when I turn this on, it will come up. I still get my read aloud. I don't get the opportunity to do the vocabulary thing, but as a teacher with my account, I can go through and make those lists, post them to my students, and they'd still be able to benefit from it. So we still get that accessibility in terms of read aloud. And I can hover over any word. So if I just need help with maybe the word curated.
Student curated vocabulary. Adam C.
Oh, and now it's reading my name. Okay. Sorry, I was getting a phone call. All right, so back in here, we're going to keep rolling to some more of these tools. This next one is also made by the same company as Read 'em Right, and this is one that my district is moving into buying for all students, and this is Equatio. A lot of our math teachers and science teachers said, well, what about our stuff? Like, Read Aloud doesn't really work when it comes to these equations. How can we make that content accessible for our kiddos too? And then I stumbled upon Equatio, and I'm like, I've got the answer for you. So let me go ahead and open Equatio up in this resource over here. So I'm going to look for this algebra assignment that one of our teachers uses quite a bit. So here's a PDF, right? And if I'm using Equatio, it's this kind of tilted square. And in here I can find, let's find the craziest looking equation that I can. We'll do this one here. So it is a screenshot reader. I can draw a box around my equation that I need. And this one takes just a second to load because it is looking at an image and needing to apply a lot of machine learning, but in about 3 seconds.
1/6 times open paren 30x minus 24y close paren minus 1/8 times open paren 30.
All right, so that's doing a pretty great job. Like, the only thing we would need to talk through with our students is that it says parenth instead of parenthesis, but we can still make that leap, and our students would probably be able to succeed with that type of support. I can replay it. I can copy the math to be able to then paste into a Google Doc or form, whatever it might be. Recently, they've also added these new features of it will discover and look through different equations to try to help you. We can bring up a periodic table on any website, have a scientific calculator, and so forth. So very helpful in terms of how we can represent the information to our kids, be able to listen to it again. But then when it gets to how our students engage and express their understanding using math, it works pretty amazingly too. So here I'm in a Google Doc. I'm going to click my Equatio button, and it comes up at the bottom of my page here. And we're going to take a look at what types of tools we can use. So the first one is a basic equation editor. I can start typing. I can also, it's going to auto-complete for different formulas. If I do area of, let's see, parallelogram, it's going to enter this in for me. Makes it very easy, or I can type things in myself. The next tool that's built in is a graph editor, so it's using Desmos. I know a lot of our computers are touchscreen, and so we can use that here as well. The computer I'm using is not, but I have a Chromebook that I would be able to draw on my screen and be able to use that. Otherwise, I can use my mouse and do 2x plus y, and it will recognize it over here on the right. I'm gonna trash that though. I can do speech recognition. I can link it to my phone so that I'm able to draw. It has that QR code, so I could scan it and be able to have my phone control my computer screen. There's a collaborative math space where we can use different manipulatives that's built in as well. And so with this, I can, here is a number line and be able to shade in certain parts of it. I can find charts and different graphs. So here's a fraction circle, and I can say I want there to be 5 segments, or we'll say 7, 17, and 12 of them are shaded in. And I can adjust all of these, have different manipulatives, add them to Google Classroom, and make assignments. It's a pretty cool tool in here. We also, again, can do screenshot reader and different STEM tools that are available as well. So pretty amazing set of tools here. When I'm ready to insert my math, so remember this is 2x plus y, I would just click insert math, and it's going to put it in there as an image, which is actually pretty cool because then I can copy and paste it anywhere. It can go into a Google form, it can go onto a website, into my learning management system, wherever I need it to go, I can use this math and put it there. Again, very cool tool. Equatio, similar to what we saw with Read 'em Right. This link is going to help you learn more. We have a short video intro. And then if you want your premium teacher account, you can activate it by filling out that form. And I think you can do both Equatio and Read 'em Right at the same time when you're filling it out. I think there's a checkbox in there. All right, so we're going to keep moving into Screencastify. And this is another extension that I'm a really big fan of for a few different reasons. First, we can do video tutorials for our students. And if we're doing a lot of remote learning, we need to support our families too. So I can record myself going through the directions for a particular assignment and put the video into my slides that I'm sharing with my students, or part of my Google Classroom, or on Canvas, whatever it might be, so that I can help both the learner and the families at home to be able to figure things out. The other thing that I really like for Screencastify is I can use it for what I call feed forward. So feedback was always, here's what you are doing. But I like to think of feed forward as here's where we need to go. So with this, I can open up Screencastify. I'm gonna turn on my camera or my mic. And in here, I'm going to record my feedback to my student. So in just a second, I'm hitting record, selecting where I want to record. All right, so Miles, you've done a good job with filling in our math equation over here, but we are still missing some other content. So please make sure that you do this entire column. If you need help, please come find me, but that's what we're working on today. Please resubmit when you're ready. Okay, so in just a second, this is gonna, after I hit stop recording, it opens up in Screencastify. On the right-hand side, I can share that resource. If I did the walkthrough to my students, I can share it to Google Classroom. I can put it on YouTube directly from here. It is saving automatically to Google Drive, so I don't need to do anything for that to happen. And when I'm ready, I'm gonna click copy shareable link, come back to my resource, and now for Miles, I can add a comment in here that just has my video, a link to my video. So Miles comes into his resource the next day, or later that afternoon, clicks on that video link, and they can see me walk through their entire assignment and give them that personalized information. Now, I didn't do this when I recorded my video because I'm already using my video to talk to you guys through Zoom, but I could also have my my webcam record me and put me in one of the corners so that they can see me too. And we know that that's incredibly important, especially if we're going to be primarily in distance learning to start things off this year. All right, so Screencastify, awesome tool. There's not a, there are premium accounts, but I've never paid for it. For the regular free account, you get up to 5 minutes per video. Which is plenty. I don't know why we'd want to record a video much longer than that. We'd probably start to lose our audience if we went too far over that. As we saw before, we have Learn More going to Chromebook App Hub, and we have the video in here as well. All right, so at this point, we're going to begin to transition out from our extensions. I do want to take a quick moment. If anyone has a question or an idea that might be brewing from the 3 tools that we've just looked at, go ahead and unmute, and I'd love to hear a few of you about what you might be inspired to try based on what we just saw.
Hey, Adam. I'm Debbie Butterworth in Richmond, and I have a question about the read and write. I was actually amazed because I've been working with assistive technology for a long time, and I didn't know anything about this. So it's really cool. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
But I do have a question. When the students have their basic version, can they still adjust like the font and the contrast and the text leveling, or does that have to be done from the teacher and sent to them?
So I don't think that they can without the premium account. Now, you don't need to buy accounts for, if you wanted to do a pilot, you don't need to buy accounts for the entire district. So what we've done in both districts where I've worked, we set up initial pilots that might have 150 kids. I think that's the lowest number that you can do. And then, try things out. Maybe we target, here are some students who would really benefit from this type of intervention or accommodation, and give them accounts. And then if we really saw, no, this is for all learners, everyone can benefit from it, then it is prorated to be a cheaper per account expense if you volume purchase more people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions or maybe inspirations that you'd like to talk through real quick? Cool. So I'm going to go back to screen share, and we're going to look at some tools that all of you probably use on a pretty regular basis. And those are the tools, Google's tools. So with this, we're primarily going to look at Docs, Slides, and YouTube. I think that these are three tools that we all probably use on a pretty regular basis. And we're going to see how accessibility is built directly into these. Now, if you're in my sessions yesterday on Docs and Slides, there might be some carryover from what we saw yesterday to what we see today, but it's definitely good to reiterate a lot of that. If you click where it says Docs on slide 14, it's going to open up a new Google Doc for you. You can also get there by typing in docs.new, and it will again open up a new doc for you. Okay, so now that I'm on, now that I'm in a blank Google Doc, you'll see that Read and Write does have some cool accessibility things when you're composing a doc as well. I'm going to close that for the time being. Maybe. Okay. This might speed things up a little bit. Okay, so in here, we are going to primarily focus on the accessibility tools within Docs. Some of my favorites are by going to Tools and then Voice Typing. When we do this, it brings up this button here on the left-hand side. And this allows us to first select what language of input we want to do. But then also, once we have that selected, we can record and start our voice to text. Voice typing is an amazing way to help our students to be able to represent their ideas that they have and be able to display the knowledge that they hold without having barriers of the intimidation of a blank piece of paper or a blank Google Doc, period. New paragraph. Don't you think it's pretty amazing that our students are able to represent their knowledge in such an easy way? Question mark. Okay, so again, very short, but we're able to come in, allow our students to speak through their ideas without having to type. Now, of course, there are a few different barriers that this helps to overcome. I've definitely worked with both adults and children who have mobility restraints and barriers where they're not physically able to type, right? So we're helping students who might have that type of barrier, but we also are allowing people where it might be that processing piece where I have the ideas here, but I'm really good at speaking through them and not necessarily typing them, or we get that anxiety of it's blank. There's so much possibility. How do I start things off? Well, I can start by talking through them. And one way that I really leverage this is I might sit down with a student and say, what do you know about X topic? Or what questions do you have? And I've done that with my own son. So when he was 4, we would do something called I Wonder. And, every couple days I would say, hey, Miles, what's something you wonder about? And I would have voice typing on, and he'd be able to ask whatever questions he had. And we could start to use some of the other accessibility tools that we're going to look at to be able to construct knowledge for him, and then allow him to use voice typing to synthesize the information that he gained and be able to put it out there too, even though he couldn't type at the time. So it makes it very easy. Now, we saw how we can adjust the language. So when we talk about accessibility, it really can be based language barriers as well. So we could pick, well, I speak Chilean Espanol, and we can change it that way. Now, the other step that you'd want to do if you adjust the input language here is going to File, and in File, there's an option to adjust the language here too. And you just want to make sure that those two things link up. That way, any feedback in terms of spelling or grammar would be in the same language that you're doing voice typing. So I could do Espanol Latino America, and now those two items are linked again. But I am not actually going to type in that language, so I'm going to switch it back now. Okay. So the next thing that I want to just quickly showcase, and I did do this yesterday, my son Miles is very interested in Minecraft right now. And I'm sure that a lot of you serve students who are pretty pumped about Minecraft too, or maybe Fortnite, whatever it might be. At the top of your screen, I would like you to just type in something that is of interest to you. Maybe it's something you're going to teach or your own self-learning, whatever it might be, drop that in here. Once we've done that, we're going to take a peek at the Explore tool, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. So we're going to go ahead and hit Explore. It kind of looks like a discussion bubble or a speech bubble with a star in it. And this is going to look through your document and say, here are some things you might be interested in based on what you're typing. Now, right now, I only have one word in here, but I could have 30 different pages and write my dissertation, and it would still be able to search all of my ideas and be able to say, here are probably the topics you're most interested in. So when I find the topic that I'm looking for, so on the right-hand side, we see that it says topics, and then I'm going to click where it says Minecraft. You pick whatever topic it is that you are interested in. We're going to click on it. Uh-oh. So we'll change this to, I'm cooking a lot of pesto today. I'm going to make a lot of pesto, so we'll see if that comes up. Sorry, Miles, no Minecraft for you. So in here, I get a card about what this overall idea is, and then down below, I get all my Google results directly within my document. So that's pretty cool. This allows us to not have to flip back and forth among a lot of different tabs. It keeps us much more focused on the content that we're working on right here. If I find one that I want to learn more about, it's like basic pesto recipe, I can click on that link, and that one's opened up. And if I end up using information from that site, this is pretty cool. When I hover over any of these results, I get that quotation mark. I can cite it as a footnote, and it makes it very easy to build out my works cited and give credit as well. So at this point, we've seen how we can do voice typing. We've seen some of that translation part for our students to do voice input in a different language. We've seen the benefit of being able to use the Explore tool. The next thing that I'm going to highlight is how we can translate the entire document to another language. So in here, I'm going to find a paper that I just wrote. So I'm in grad school. This is my final week of grad school, finishing up with my admin degree. Very excited about that. And we have some big papers coming up. So if I go and find this, this is maybe like a 4 or 5 page paper. So not too long, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to translate a multiple page paper. So in here, I'm going to go back to where it says tools. And we're going to do this translate document. When I do that, it's going to ask me what language I want it to change into. And I will pick Spanish and translate. So now, in just a few seconds, it's taken my entire paper and has translated it for me. And I can then share it with someone else, and be able to help them to meet their needs and allow them to understand this concept. As I mentioned in a few other sessions, you know, this is coming from Google Translate. I feel like I can trust that site. Some of you may have different experiences, but I think it's a pretty helpful tool and allow us to break down some language barriers between our classroom and our students and their families as well. All right, so those are some of my favorite features of Google Docs. This next part that we're gonna look at is how accessibility features are built into slides as well. So I'm going to use the slide deck that I'm already using. If you want to, you can follow along by watching mine, or you can type in slides.new and open up a new set of slides for yourself. Either way is perfectly fine. So I'm gonna head to slide 15 on mine and just showcase a couple things in here. So the very first thing I want to represent for you is the closed captioning tool that's built directly into slides. So when I'm in the present mode, at the bottom of my screen, the bottom left, I'm going to get a couple options in here, including captions. When I click on captions, it allows me to transcribe everything that I'm saying for my students so that they not only can hear what I'm saying, hear my voice, but also be able to visually see it as well. Now, a pretty cool thing about this is I don't need to display it for all of my students. Now, it certainly doesn't hurt if I do that, and it's a good best practice UDL type of idea. However, if I have a student who might need this accommodation, he or she can open up slides in the present mode, turn on closed captioning just for their own computer, and be able to hear everything or be able to read everything that way too. So it really does work either way. I've done this in the PD session that I was a member of, not leading, and I was in the back of the room with 50 other people, and it still worked for me. So pretty cool resource here. Now, another part of slides that is available is the Q&A feature. So at the Q&A, our students can type in whatever questions they might have. So I was in here, click Q&A. I'm going to start a new set. And in here, our students will now have this link up at the top. And if they go to that slide, if they go to that site, then they can start to ask questions and I can make sure that I answer everything that they get. Now, I think that this does have an element of accessibility because we're able to present our questions in a variety of ways to our students. Another cool part of this is classmates can upvote. If there's a particular question that a lot of people have, that can be happening in the back channel and we can really help to meet those needs. So at this point, I'm going to turn off captioning. I'm going to exit that presenter view, and I'm very quickly going to show you how we can also add audio or video to help with our content here. So on my slides, I can go up to Insert, select Audio, and maybe I have my directions for my students, and now it's not only text-based, but I can record this information too. And that's going to put a little icon, a little speaker icon, that my students can either play on demand, or I can set it up where it plays as soon as they go to this particular slide. Some other things that I can do, I can insert a video, and this will pull from either YouTube or from Google Drive. So remember, any of those videos that I do using Screencastify are automatically saved to my drive. So I could go and find it, say that this is the one that I just recorded. I can select it, and now I have that overview of the assignment directly on the assignment, and it can help to cut down on whatever confusion might be there. And that's exactly what I did with this video. It's a 5-minute overview of an upcoming assignment for, I'm doing a cohort for becoming a Google Educator 1 and at level 2 as well. And so this is walking them through an ongoing assignment. Okay. So again, very easy. I can set the start times if I only want them to see from 1:37 through 2:53. Then they only get that 1:16 chunk. and I can really set to make sure that they are focused on the area I need them to see. All right, so those are some cool features within Slides. At this point, I'm gonna head back to this account and open up YouTube. And we're going to briefly see some cool things that we can do with YouTube as well. Okay, so let's see. Here is a TED Talk down here, gamification and higher education. That's a pretty cool topic. I like that. So I'm going to do a search for gamification in education. And once I do that, I'm getting thousands of results here. And not all of them are exactly what I'm looking for. So some other things that I can do, I can go to where it says filter and try to find exactly what it is that I'm trying to find. So if I'm looking for a channel, I can do that. If I'm looking for a playlist, which might be a series of videos, I can make that happen too. But what I really like to hone in on is over here for duration. And I want this to be short. My students do not have a long attention span, especially when they're at home. And I need something 3 minutes or less, or 2 minutes, whatever it might be. And when I find the right video, we'll pretend that it's this one. Of course, I'm gonna go in and watch the whole thing, right? But before I do that, or pretend that I've already done that, right? I've already gone and found the video that I want. My next step is I'm going to empower my students to turn on the captioning here too. So we're clicking where it says CC. And now when we watch our video.
Hello, I'm Justin Gonzalez and welcome to It Worked, where I'll be looking at educational apps.
All right, so his name's probably not Jessica Gonzalez, but it does provide that captioning. It's automatically done. If you are posting videos of your own onto YouTube, it will do that for yours as well without needing to make it without having to do anything on the back end. Now, some other cool things that we can do, if I click on the settings gear, we get the choice for subtitles, and I can choose to auto translate. And again, I probably have 150 different languages that I can select. We'll do Spanish. Some other things I can do from here, I can adjust the playback speed. So sometimes I might have students who need it to go slower to be able to get all that information. Or maybe they're trying to speed through some of their assignments and they could increase it as well.
And projects that work in the classroom. In today's video, we're going to look at how you can get.
All right, so what we see here, our students are able to access the information in a variety of ways. Not only are they hearing it, but if they need translation support, they can get that as well. If they need it to go at a slower pace, they can self-select that too. The final thing that can be really helpful is how do we get this information to our students in a safe way? If you're using Google Classroom, if you're using Slides, I would place the video directly on those locations instead of taking them to YouTube. I know that there are a lot of advertisements and up next auto playlists that we may not want them to engage with. So by placing it into one of those locations, we're really helping them to stay focused as well. And that's an easy accommodation that we can all provide. All right. So we're gonna keep rolling, and a couple last things that I want to just very quickly touch on. One is Flipgrid, and Flipgrid is a tool that we'll go in depth with tomorrow. I have a session called Creating Community from Home, and we spend about half an hour looking at Flipgrid. So if this is intriguing to you, I really invite you to join that session. I think we still have some spots available, so tomorrow at 9 o'clock is when this is taking place. But we'll watch this short video about Flipgrid to be able to see what this tool can do.
provide inclusion for my deaf students.
I have a voice. I have a voice. I have a voice.
We designed Flipgrid to be an inclusive opportunity for all students to share their voice.
And we are so proud to build an environment that is accessible, simple, and fun.
And I'm so proud to be on our mission to empower every voice.
Okay, sorry about that it started playing again. So I love Flipgrid for multiple reasons, but in terms of accessibility, our students are able to represent their knowledge in a variety of ways. So Flipgrid uses video responses, but it also allows our kids to use a whiteboard to be able to represent ideas that way. They don't need to show their face whatsoever. They can even do an audio recording for, their entire response. So lots of ways to represent knowledge. Now, in terms of accessing content, the teacher can type things out and have that information. Everything is read aloud, like we saw with Read and Write for Google, using a tool called Immersive Reader that's built into Flipgrid. It also does translation for them. And all the videos that are on the platform automatically get that closed captioning like what we saw in YouTube. Now, if you are interested specifically in accessibility in Flipgrid, we have that link down at the bottom of our bulleted list. And that brings you to a resource about really how they try to target accessibility with their tools. And Flipgrid is continually making updates. I think I saw earlier today that on August 5th, they're gonna roll out a bunch of new updates just in time to go back to school. So really cool product. You should definitely check out our session tomorrow if you wanna learn more about Flipgrid. Now, kind of the last thing I wanna really touch on when it comes to accessibility, our students interact with text and with image-based information differently than a lot of us do. So we can tap into this by using things like a meme or GIFs or GIFs to be able to represent ideas to our students. And we can also leverage this by allowing them and empowering them to use those same things to represent their knowledge back to us. So, I know that from time to time we need to do a formal presentation or a formal paper, but for a lot of this, if we're doing quick feedback from them or an exit ticket activity, how might we be able to use this type of visual information to allow our students to represent that knowledge? And that's kind of my last challenge to you as we wrap up. I do want to thank you guys for thank you all for joining me today. You can find me at these two different places on social media and my email. We do have a little bit of time for Q&A in a few moments. I do want to thank John and Eric for assisting in the chat. It looks like it was pretty lively today, so thank you guys. Thank you to Pam and Liza for putting on so many of these technology sessions for our teachers for free. They've been very helpful for me along the way. And the final thing is I would love feedback from you. So if you can, please head to the link that's on our screen right now, bit.ly/3E76XNX, and please provide some feedback about how the session was for you. Also on that page, or in the form, there's an option in there to request a renewal certificate. If you choose that, please make sure that your name and email address are spelled correctly. Otherwise, you may not receive your intended certificate. At this point, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have any questions, you can stick around, unmute your mic and ask them. And we have about maybe 8 minutes or so that we can field some of those questions. Thank you guys so much. You can expect that in the next, sometime today, you'll receive a follow-up email from me that has the recording of this session and some other resources as well. Thank you guys.